All right, welcome back to another episode of Pause for a Moment with Student Life. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Brittnie-Ann. And today, this episode, we are here with Denisse, who is an alumni from PVCC. And we're going to be picking her brain for a little bit on what it means to be PVCC Puma, or what it meant to be PVCC Puma.
You're always a Puma.
You're always a Puma. Once a Puma, always a Puma. Denisse, why was PVCC a choice for you in your pursuit of higher education?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you too, and always kind of like had the opportunity to meet like new, younger, and upcoming faces from the Puma family. And I agree with you. Once a Puma, always a Puma.
Always a Puma.
Honestly, it was an interesting transition. So I was born and raised in Mexico City, and when I first got here, it was like my last semester of high school. Historically, back home, my mom, well, a little bit of background. So my mom was a middle school physics teacher, and education has run deep in my family. Like, it's very important about education. So there was always that expectation that I had to go get a degree, a college degree.
Yeah.
Now, what I didn't know here in America is that calling it college degree, it's basically a little bit of the similar concept of what we call it a university degree in Mexico. We don't have that transition of college versus university.
It's just university.
You go to a university.
Okay.
So I remember when I was meeting with my advisor, and I had just kind of arrived at that time. I was learning English, and interesting enough, all my classes transferred completely, and I was able to graduate that last semester of high school without really taking any single class except for American history and English class.
That's wonderful.
So that was the only reason why I went to my last semester of high school, because I had everything else, all the requirements. But because English was like sort of a barrier at that time, I remember my advisor said, well, I said, I need to go to university.
Yeah.
I need to study. I can remember what I said at that time. And she was like, well, I recommend that you go to a community college.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't understand what is
What did it
that?
mean? Okay.
Are you saying university? And she's like, yes and no. It was the most confusing explanation ever. Because again, I came with I have big expectations. You have to finish a college degree. And so I kind of end up here, honestly, because of my advisor at that time.
This was your high school advisor?
High school advisor.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my high school advisor. And I remember the first thing that they did, they tested me in English, and I had to basically take the whole English classes and the 101 classes.
English 101.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting. I'm going to be completely honest. I was very disappointed in my first year because I was like, this does not feel like university. Again, growing up in a completely different culture.
Yeah, it's
I had
totally
an idea
different.
what a university was going to be, choosing your degree and your major. And they were like, oh, you get to take your general classes. And I was like, no, when you go to university, you choose your major and you're stuck with your major over there.
And you study that.
Right.
Yeah.
Follow through.
Here it's like, well, you have the first 2 years to figure out and explore things. So I was like, how am I going to explain that to my mother? Because she's paying for college.
Yep.
And how am I going to explain to her that it is university, but it's not really university? That was an interesting one. So anyways, fast forward. I'm kind of making a long story short. I just kind of I was like, Mom, I don't understand it. I cannot explain it to you. You just gotta trust the process.
Trust the
Trust the
process.
process.
Yes. At that point, it's like, I don't even know. I mean, we just gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, my first year was a little bit complicated. So, this does not feel right. But honestly, it was the best decision that somebody could have done for me. Even though I was so set on going to university, as we call it. Now looking back, what happened by coming here at PVCC is it was such a smaller environment. The classes obviously are a lot smaller. I was able to actually connect with people, and I was going through a rough time. I'm sure, like anybody else, when it's in college, it's a big transition.
It is.
Season, especially because you come from high school where you have a lot of direction and guidelines and expectations.
Yeah.
And now you're in college and it's like, oh, you're an adult, but not really an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to figure out your own schedule and don't forget to go to class.
Yeah.
But it's on you, right? Like
And
nobody's
complete
gonna
your
chase you.
assignments. No one's gonna come up to you and say, "Hey, did you complete your assignments again one time?" No, it's all up to you right now.
And
Exactly.
It's all in English too.
And
And
it's all in
English, yes. And like so between that and some family stuff, I was like, I soon realized that I ended up finding my emotional support here actually on campus.
Oh,
I
love
started
that.
joining several clubs. I was a part of the
Mhm.
ambassadors. I was a part of student life.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you were.
yeah, and so I think it made such a big difference.
Mhm.
So much that it was really hard to leave actually.
Oh,
By the time I actually understood the concept between
Yeah.
community college and university,
You're
I was
like,
like
no.
ready to transfer.
we
I was
don't
like,
really
I don't want to
need-
leave. Yeah, exactly. So it was actually hard because this place became home.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. That was a great answer.
That was a wonderful
Yeah.
answer. Oh gosh.
Thank you.
Our next question for you, Denisse, is during your time here, you were a part of the Student Leadership Council. How was that experience, and is it a path that you would recommend to current and prospective students?
One of the memories that I remember the most about being a part of, I think at that time it was like SLC.
Yeah.
Is that still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it is Student Leadership Council, but it was it had an extra C or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. But one of the memories that I actually remember being there, that again I thought that it kind of was very impressive that somebody had kind of like ensured that there was this path for for kids like me at the time, right?
Mhm.
That not only that created a community, but I remember I was able to found a scholarship to go to like a camp through
Through the-
SLC,
Oh,
through
nice.
SLC.
Yeah.
And so they took us to this camp. It was like at the beginning of the year. We went through this to this camp, and again, yes, there were gonna be goals ahead of us that we had to meet.
Mhm.
Like anything, but beyond the goals, I think the team really ensured to kind of spend the time with each of the students to bring us together, to create the activities that would build the trust. I remember
Mhm.
that trust fall thing.
Oh.
You did trust fall?
Oh gosh. I was like, seriously? Did anybody sign a waiver for this? Of course, I'm sure I did, but
Yeah.
but I just remember it's like I don't know, it's this unique combination of not only you're coming together as a team to do something together,
Mhm.
to blend with each other, but it really helped me in my own personal growth as well.
Personal
So it
development.
wasn't just about like, oh, I'm joining this team for this reason
Yeah.
and we're gonna accomplish XYZ. But at a personal level, it allowed me to kind of like, oh, I didn't know I liked those things, or I was this kind of person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they make you do all those personality tests.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I actually found that I'm fascinated by it even until now. It's like as a way of, and I think to some level, even some of that played a role, even in the classes that I ended up taking, right? Like
Yeah.
my psychology class, I was like, okay, let's figure out people and analyze people,
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that, but I think that just being a part of, the student leadership, it really provided me. It actually, I feel like that was a turning point for me actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I was a part, I think, of ambassadors and a part of just the other clubs. So getting to be a part of the student life became almost like, oh, I'm reaching this next level goal in my own personal development. And I felt like my level of confidence, honestly, kind of definitely increased. And again, part of it was supported by the activities that it was created. But I feel like, oh my gosh, I can actually be a part of something meaningful.
And the people were welcoming.
Yes.
Yeah. Togetherness. Oh, I love that. So you would recommend student life leadership
Absolutely.
council. Okay.
100%. Especially for those that may feel a little bit kind of like an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
To some level, I was a little bit of that outsider.
Yeah.
Like I said, I this became my home as a result of that, because it's like everybody came together, and I don't know, it's a unique feeling that you don't get to have unless, but it also requires that, in order to get that feeling, it also requires a little bit of bravery
Yeah.
on your part,
You have
right?
to step out of your comfort
Yes,
zone.
you had to take the first step. So I definitely recommend it to everybody, but I know it can be scary at the same time.
It can be. It can be.
But so important.
It is. Okay. Our next question, Denisse. What was your degree path, and has it helped you in your current line of work?
That is the worst question you could have asked me.
Denise.
And a lot of those people that are going to be listening to the podcast hopefully are not my former advisors or
Yeah.
teachers, because they're going to laugh. They've known the story. They were a part of the story. So, again, kind of a little bit of the other background story. Like, so my mom was a physics middle school teacher.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, literally, like, I didn't have a doll to play. I had the periodic table. I always have educational games. It was always like, oh, we're gonna measure this quantity. How much is like centigrade to Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Like, she was so, and we were kids, but that was just my mom's way of talking to us. And at that time, I hated it. I was like, I just want a freaking teddy bear, okay? But she would get me
We don't want to know about Celsius and
No,
Fahrenheit.
Celsius.
We want a teddy bear, Mom.
Thank you. And so with that, I just wanted a teddy bear, and I wanted to have nothing to do with sciences. Quote unquote.
Understandable.
Well, no, that did not happen. I think my mom did something in my brain as a child, because fast forward, when I was actually in high school back in Mexico, I ended up studying electrical engineering as part of my high school
wow.
thing. And I was like, okay, I'm really finding that I'm liking the engineering side. So I came here, and in my mind, I was like, okay, numbers should be exactly the same whether you do it in Spanish or in English, right?
Yep.
So I'll just keep going into engineering. Well, the way they explain math here is so different.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? And so anyways, like, I got frustrated, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to change the subject. I'm going to change it to now, like, again, part of getting involved with all the clubs and really understanding people and doing social causes. I'm just going to start doing psychology. So I changed my degree to psychology.
Yeah.
Well, I started going to this advisor almost every week, because there was like a brand new exciting class that I could find, and I was like, oh, actually, forget psychology. I really want to do chemical engineering, because I want to solve like environmental issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, let's do it. So she would rearrange my classes, and then I was like, yeah, this is no longer exciting. So I went back, and there's like, no, forget it. I'm gonna do architecture. And literally, if you were to interview them, they were right here with me. They would say, yep. Every week she would come, and she would change her major for something completely opposite from even what it was the week before. So I went from like electrical engineering to architecture, graphic design, you name it, like this big range of classes. And in fact, my degree, it's like what I ended up studying, the classes that I took here at PVCC, they didn't really have a specific path. They were like this jumble mumble of
Just classes that you wanted to take.
I think part of it, I was just I've always been very curious about things, and I was just like, oh, I want to learn more about that.
Yeah.
Even though in that moment doesn't make sense and it didn't connect it. I end up going to ASU West after I graduated here with just a general arts degree.
Okay.
And so I ended up moving to ASU West, and same thing. At this point, you're supposed to be choosing your degree.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because at the beginning, I don't know if you remember I mentioned, in Mexico, you're supposed to choose a degree. You don't get to play around. Well, they let me play around too much that I got used to that. So by the time I got to ASU, there's like, what degree you want to go? I was like, well, I don't know. And so I took classes from audio recording, video, but I also did like political sciences. I did the physics.
Just a variety.
I continue the journey of like this jumble mumble amount of classes. And I remember my mom was like, one day, she's like, Denisse, when are you gonna graduate? And I said, well, soon. Like I just don't know if I have enough credits. I mean, I had more than enough credits. It's just that I didn't know if I had enough credits for a specific path degree.
Yeah.
I was so lucky that year. So my mom said, after I said that, she's like, I don't care what you graduate with. You just need to graduate. She gave me the ultimatum. She's like, I'm done. I was like, oh, okay. So I went back to my advisor at that point. I was like, is there any way that we can combine these classes and do some kind of degree?
Yeah.
And that year, luckily, they started out this interdisciplinary degree. Where literally we're able to take all these classes. I only had to take like maybe 2 additional classes to meet that degree requirements and be able to graduate. I was like, perfect, let's do it. I'll take it. So back to you. I'm sorry for the long long answer, but yes. So my degree was in interdisciplinary behavioral sciences.
Okay.
And when I told my mom, what does that mean? I said, I have no idea. A little bit of everything and nothing. I like
everything and nothing at the same time.
And she asked me, what can you do with that degree? I was like, I have no idea. But you asked me for a degree, so there you go. You didn't ask me to have a degree that I could actually do something with.
Have you been able to do anything with your degree?
That's a great question. So soon after that, I actually joined AmeriCorps. And I think part of it is, and I think it really came actually from my years here at PVCC. I really became very passionate about community service. And so I joined AmeriCorps, and it was supposed to be, at that time, it was a organization that would teach high school students actually it was like a summer camp for to teach inclusivity and diversity, inclusion and diversity.
Yeah.
And part of me was training. But in the days where we were not going to schools, I would end up finding myself in the computer just fixing their website or doing their flyers, like for fun, literally for fun.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine that I had met actually when I was at the ASU, she became kind of like my mentor. And she's a visual artist herself, and she used to work at ASU, but she had left before I graduated. And she kind of took me under her wing. And she's like, why are you doing all these things for fun? Do you realize, like, there's a career called graphic design? And I was like, yeah, I don't see how that could be making money. Like, I like doing this for fun. Like, I couldn't connect it, to be honest. And so I kept doing it during my whole year of AmeriCorps. And right after that, I had to find a job. And it became desperate. It's like, just give me whatever job that you would give me. So I ended up getting this job where basically I became like, an apprentice to this other guy who would teach me like everything about just design, communications, branding, and everything.
Oh, wow.
I had already my degree. So what did I do with my degree? Yes, I ended up going back somehow to design. I ended up doing graphic design for a lot of years, and now I'm doing product design. And what I realized, I'm looking back to that girl that my mom asked me, is like, what are you even going to do with your degree? I don't know how to explain this in the right words, but actually that was the right degree for me, because I was able, this whole idea of interdisciplinary degree, it truly brings out like all these different sciences together.
Yeah.
And there's this crossover that up until today, I've been able to use compare as if I would have like specialized in a specific area. And I honestly, looking back, if I was to talk to my younger self, like, do not change. Keep trying new things. Keep, learning new things, because somehow I cannot tell you how many experiences I've had where like at some point I have a project and something completely random and that comes in handy at some point.
Amazing.
All of your experience comes together.
Yeah. And it goes to show that coming into community college, you don't need a specific direction. You just need curiosity and a good place.
I love that. Yes, curiosity.
Brittnie-Ann.
Curiosity.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Okay, our next question for you, Denisse, is seeing as Brittnie-Ann and I are representing the Student Life Department, I feel inclined to ask, what were your favorite events to attend while you were a student here?
Maybe I'm biased because I was a part of the ambassadors team at the time. I really love orientation.
You really like NSO?
and graduations.
Okay.
I think that there's something so unique and magical and just heartfelt about seeing the beginning and the end
Oh,
of
I
a
love
story,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
and being a part of that beginning of somebody else's beginnings.
Mhm.
And being a part, I'm even getting the chills, like just remembering like the orientation times that we had. It wasn't just about, I love hanging out with the team that was doing it. It was like my family,
Yeah.
but also seeing like the sparkle in the new, you know, the new students coming into college.
Mhm.
Sort of this idea of hope, and you could see the dreams, and it was just like priceless. And again, being able to play a part in their journey.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've always loved graduations. I think graduations are such a unique moment. I heard people saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna graduate. It's just walking around and like getting a paper degree."
No, there's so much more to
Oh,
graduating. There's
more.
so much to being able to look back and say, yeah, you finished. You
yes.
walked. And you can say that you completed this journey that you started. So yeah.
But also to that, if I can add,
Yeah.
is the moment of acknowledging and thanking the people that came along with you into the
yeah.
journey, right?
Mhm.
Not just your parents or family, but like your teachers, you
Mhm.
know, your friends. And I think that there's just such a beautiful culmination of all the hard work from everybody, because the truth is we don't get where we are by ourselves.
That's true.
There's
is a
always
very good
somebody
point.
that has come along with us.
No man is an island.
Yes.
No man is an island.
Hey, Denise, our next question is, what is the funniest thing you can remember that happened while you were on campus? Hilarious. Funniest thing.
I'm having a hard time with that question because I cannot think of something specific. I just remember, honestly, being at PVCC were one of the most joyful times of my life. Well,
Yeah.
you know, soon after moving here, that I think it just have such a very happy, warm overall memories.
Yeah. So everything at PVC was
Except when I would
enjoyable.
tell me, you know, that I failed my math class. So yes,
Ah.
except those moments.
Which math class did you have?
Oh gosh, I had to take a couple of times calculus one.
Oh Lord.
Calculus is very difficult. So
Yeah.
um,
I'm not gonna do that one.
I think I'm gonna blame calculus because of the reason why I had to change majors so many
Yeah.
times, because I was like, I'm gonna try it again,
We'll put it
but
on
it
calculus.
didn't work.
We blame you, calculus.
So I have a calculus trauma for sure. But I
Aw.
guess that doesn't answer your question. I cannot think of one. I'm sorry.
That is okay. That is fine.
Actually, I do have. Actually, I just thought of one.
Yay.
I think it was. I think now looking back, I think it's really funny.
Mhm.
But I remember, I had this physics class that I used to go, and I stopped going to class. This is probably not something you want to do, especially for
Mm-mm.
physics. I stopped going to class, and I knew that the professor would only do quizzes on Fridays.
Yeah.
So I would just go on Friday,
And do
take
your
the quiz, and leave. And I never had an issue with it. Like,
You would
I actually
pass?
was passing the
Oh,
class.
yes.
So I was like, oh, I got this down. I can just go relax, do my own thing. I
Yeah.
go on Fridays, do the test, and and again, I think part of it was the advantage of growing up with my mother, who was constantly testing us. So I just remember one time. So the professor was like, Denise, I need to meet with you after class.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, now what? What did I do? I always felt like I always was in trouble for sure. And so I went to the office, and she's like, it is not fair for the rest of the students that they have to come to class and do all the assignments. I was doing the assignments. I
Yeah.
just wasn't going to class all week. And she's like, that you still get a good grade, and the rest of the students still have to come to class, and you don't. So for you specifically, I am going to require you to come to class moving forward as part of your grade.
Mhm.
I was like, but I tried to fight it, of course, and it didn't
Yeah.
work. I
You're
was
already
like,
passing, so
well, honestly, looking back, and I think the part of the reason why it's funny, I think, is like looking back. I mean, first of all, she had every right to tell me that, but I just think it's hilarious. I was like, how did I even manage to pass the class without going to class in the first
Especially
place?
physics, because physics is a hard subject.
Exactly. And I was like, that is crazy. I mean, I think it's more of a memory. I was like, that is so crazy
Yeah.
that I was able to do that. But of course, I wasn't able to do it with any other class. I think it was also just, I don't know.
Ingrained in you by your mother.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think that was
Yeah.
probably what it was.
It's all those like, classes, mini classes in the kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
That's
Okay,
so
well-
sweet. Our next question for you, Denisse, is coming here today, are there any changes that you noticed? If yes, what? If not, what stayed the same?
This campus has grown so much.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking earlier. Like I used to get lost just trying to find the building.
Really?
I feel like I would be even more lost now with just all the different buildings and the order of the buildings
Yeah.
and the naming of the buildings. And yes, being a graphic designer, I was like, okay, we need a little bit of better direction sometimes to just kind of find the buildings. But I think it's really cool. It also shows the demand and the growth of the campus, right? That the more buildings is more opportunities for
Yeah.
students like yourself and like myself to be able to build that community. I actually was just coming over here. You guys even have like a big giant chess area.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
That was by our STEAM club, correct?
Really?
So,
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Like I always loved playing chess. I always loved playing chess, and I was like, oh my gosh, But as a student, you cannot always afford those things that
yeah.
you just want to
Get a pretty
buy.
time. Yep.
But again, like you just have a big one there. The amount of buildings I think is incredible. The entire what is the building? The first one that you come in?
Oh, the KSC?
KSC?
Yes, looks completely different
Really?
than how it was when I was here. I remember there was financial aid, and it was just a hallway and some offices. But now I feel like it's my brain is totally mixed up. But it looks so different
Yeah.
entirely. Like it really feels like a state of the art.
Yeah.
College now.
Oh, nice.
Wonderful.
Okay, PVCC. We see you developing. We see you developing and changing. Our next question. Paradise Valley Community College is a small yet close-knit campus, which we've been talking about. Taking that into consideration, do you think that helped you at all in your educational journey?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, we
like,
did.
Had it not been because of the close-knit community,
Mm-hmm.
I can see how people can get lost in 100 classroom.
Yeah, definitely.
When I moved to ASU West, even though the classes are a lot smaller compared to Tempe, I definitely felt like I was a little bit on my own, especially after had experienced such a close-knit community here.
Yeah.
It felt like I was kind of like on my own island. And it was also very interesting because there were even more working students, so there were students while working,
Yeah.
that there were even less opportunities to really have those connections.
Oh, yeah.
So it felt so off. But I feel like the same model that works here, it worked for me when I went to ASU. That I end up getting involved in a club. I end up getting involved, like I end up doing student work, on campus.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you start building those relationships. And it really takes to get involved to feel like you belong.
Which I think that's kind of something that I'm dreading too once it's time to transfer, because Paradise Valley is so, yes, it's small, but the people here have such big hearts and they're so welcoming and so helpful. So I think I probably will struggle with that when I move to transfer to a different university. So I'll keep Paradise Valley in my heart though.
I will say though, I think if I could look back and by now you kind of know parts of yourself. You know what you like, what you're interested, what you've been so passionate about in serving. I would say think about those as a way that when you do the transition to find the same community where you're going next, like wherever you're going. So if it's student leadership, find a way to connect with the student leadership team because it's a familiar path, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit easier of a transition to go into that.
Okay.
I love the international club.
Mhm.
At some point, I think I started getting involved in that here
Mhm.
very, very late in my years here. So I didn't get as much experience in that. By the time I got to ASU, the club was even bigger. And it really became sort of that community. I
Yeah.
felt like we had really this unique ground to like connect. And
Mhm.
I didn't, the international club at ASU became a little bit of my student life version for
Yeah.
me. So
love
I would
that.
say, think about what are those things that you're passionate and continue doing it until
Yeah.
like you feel like, oh, okay, maybe I've outgrown that part.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try something different. But I think the biggest part is like the transition. The hardest part was like just that first year
Yeah.
of feeling like you belong, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do a little bit of extra work,
Mhm.
or maybe not, depending on your personality, right? But I think that stay true to the things that you like and who you are. It will help you a lot.
Oh, thank you so much for
That's
the
really good
advice.
insight. Thank you so much. All right, our next question for you. What was your favorite class to attend?
I have a couple ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
My first one was my psychology class.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's here anymore. Dr. Rebado. I can't remember her full name. I remember one time I actually found her at Einstein Bagels. I was like, oh my gosh, I took a class with you. But I think she already retired. But anyways, just the psychology side of it. And again, if you think about graphic design and design as a whole, and
Mhm.
even the product design work that I do now, I actually have to think about the user experience so much.
Yeah.
I have to think kind of like why they make certain decisions when it
Mhm.
comes to branding, like what colors would they choose. And I just remember I was like devouring that class. Little did I know that I would end up doing
Yeah.
some of that in my actual field.
Good
right?
transferable skills.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was incredible. One of the projects she gave us towards the end of the class was like, take yourself on a date by yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody else invited. And at that, again, I think at that time I can definitely say I was super insecure. But I remember it's like, take yourself to a date and basically write your findings and
Mhm.
do the whole, report and things like that. That was one of the most like eye-opening experiences that I had because I was like, I remember I did the whole dress up thing. So I had to dress up
Yeah.
and I went to an Italian restaurant at that time. And as soon as I got there, the guy was like, the guy sat me down at the table and never came to take my order.
What?
And then I said, excuse me, can I order? It's like, oh, I thought you were waiting for somebody.
Oh.
Again, this psychological aspect to
Mhm.
it. And I was like, no, it's just me. But you can tell that around me, there were all these other couples. And
yeah.
actually, I felt like they were looking at me. But they probably were not. But I was so self-conscious. They were looking at me. I just like ate and like, okay, I'm done. I'm getting out of here. This is getting very uncomfortable. I should have just taken myself to the movies, instead of But I was trying to really push for
Yeah.
myself. And again, it's moments like that I was like, oh my gosh, I still remember that until this day. The other one that I took, and I think this is after they realized that I just kept changing my majors
Okay.
100,000 times.
Yeah.
They referred me to this class with Dr. Marianne Rocaforte, career exploration. And she's like, okay, I think you probably need to go figure out like what career you need to do. And honestly, I don't know if this necessarily completely helped me choose my career, but I think she helped me realize that I was on a very unique path, and embrace who I was at that time. Instead of trying to fit into a box,
Mhm.
that class and her and Dr. Rocaforte really helped me just kind of like, yeah, maybe I'm never gonna be like a 1 degree person,
Yeah.
but it's okay to have so much curiosity about the world, and
Yeah.
somehow at some point it's gonna all work out, and it did. Honestly, years later, it wasn't that much later after I graduated from ASU, like it actually ended up working out. She saw something in me that I don't think I was able to see it, and it really, again, kind of, it's those moments that really leave you like this long last mark in your heart and just how you see life.
Yeah. I love that. Thinking about the mark that your professors and the advisors left with you. Did you have a specific professor where they significantly impacted your experience here? We talked about the advisor. We talked about we talked about your physics professor. But outside of that, any other professors that had like a significant impact on your journey?
I think Dr. Roccaforte definitely did in my life, but just because it allowed me to embrace who I was. And I think inside of me, I was always kind of like trying to push the boundaries. And she would let me push the boundaries without necessarily shutting it down. But she would teach me how to manage, how to push the boundaries.
Oh, I love that.
However, while I would say I definitely feel like she definitely had a huge impact, I think, like I said earlier, it takes a village, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think it's a collection of my career counseling class, a collection of my psychology class, my physics, my advisor, and even the people I got to work while I was doing ambassadors team.
Yeah.
It truly takes a village, and I cannot say that there's one person more than other, because it's almost like they were kind of like mirrors to my life, and each of them as being a mirror, they were showing a different side of myself, and they were working with me to kind of like beautify that side of myself that I didn't even know I had, because they would see something different in me and kind of help it grow and nurture. So it's hard to highlight somebody very specific, because I truly believe that it's a collaboration of everything that happened, including the environment itself, to be honest. The campus is so beautiful, it's gorgeous.
It is.
Having the spaces to just those moments that you're going crazy and like, I just need to chill down, or a place to feel like, when you're struggling at home, you have a place to be here because this becomes home. So I would say it's really a combination of everything. It's a really full experience.
Yeah, so PVCC is a village of nurturers and caretakers and people who believe in you, and are willing to work with you to figure out life.
Yes,
I love
I
that.
think you said it very well. Wow.
Thank you.
You should be a podcaster.
All right, our next question for you. Apart from being part of the Student Leadership Council, were there any other organizations or clubs that you participated in or wanted to participate in?
We know about ambassadors because you said you joined Ambassador Student Leadership Council, but what other clubs?
Yes, I was a part of Ambassadors. At some point, I was also a part of Mecha. And also was
I'm sorry, Micha?
Mecha. I cannot remember the full name now. I guess I was not that involved. The Latino Club, whatever that is.
Okay,
Oh,
I think
we know
for us it's
Alice.
HOSA or Alice. Yes.
Yeah, we know Alice.
Okay, it used to be called Mecha.
Oh.
So that's interesting. Okay, yes. So that
Okay.
okay. I'm glad that. So yeah, I think I was more involved in that one because I was a part of the ambassadors team, and people were like, "Oh, you're gonna come, wanna come help out," and I always felt like serving was such a big part of of what I wanted to do during that time in college. So it's almost like if there was a need, I would go and help out, right? So I think a lot of my involvement in different areas became like that. Okay, there's a need, let's just go and help out.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And then I was also part of, so actually Dr. Roccaforte started the I don't know if it's still here, the peer mentoring.
We do have peer mentors.
Yes.
So I was a part of one of her first early classes when she started the program.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I think you would be great. I was like, I don't know what I had to offer. Like, really? Okay, fine. And so the idea was to pair you up with another student.
Yeah.
And so it kind of started as a class, but I feel like it grew into something a lot bigger. So I think part of being an ambassadors and the student life, I had built a lot of different connections too. I think that was the other part, right? So at some point, it's like, I don't know, it just became not a specific maybe activity, but it was more like you just want to be a part of everything, really.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And once you're part of one thing, usually people then
Yeah.
pull you into
Yeah.
other things.
And then it makes it really hard to leave because
Yeah.
then when you leave, you're like, "Where's my people?"
Oh.
So I definitely have that complaint. You know,
Mhm.
they make us fall in love, and then
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
then we
"Oh,
have to just
goodbye."
leave.
Yeah, what the heck? Like, sorry, welcome, but not welcome. Now you have to go.
You know what, PVCC, you should be a four-year college at this point.
Well, at this
Let's-
point, they do have some programs.
That's
that let you
right.
learn
Yeah.
about
The
bachelor's
education
programs.
degree, I think.
Education.
That would not work for
Yes.
me, but yes.
Yes, but so
Because
now
I would be changing my
Can
my
still-
degree anyway. So yeah, but yes, there's the education degree.
Okay. Our next question is, do you still keep in touch with anyone here at Paradise Valley?
Yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Who?
Actually, the Yvette Quintero, she used to run ambassadors.
Mhm.
At the time, she was the leader, and so I still keep in touch with her. I have a couple friends that I was a part of them with, like, in the peer mentoring group. She was a student at the time. We actually met in that peer mentoring group at that time, and after that, we got very close. She kind of left, and now we're like actually super great friends. I'm actually gonna go see her next weekend in Washington.
Oh
Like,
my
we're
God.
super good friends.
Yeah.
I used to know a lot more people. Like, I used to. There was another counselor that I think she already retired, Catherine Mendoza. She already also kind of took me under her wing.
Yeah.
And we get to hang out from time to time.
Oh, that's
you
so
know.
cool.
There's a couple people I can think of, but at the same time, there's also a lot of new people that I've never met.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, Becky has done an incredible job at introducing me with other people, which is really cool because, like, oh my gosh, I get an excuse to come back. I don't look like a creeper.
Yeah.
'Cause what are you doing on campus?
You just
You're
want
not
to be
taking
here
classes.
to feel the love again.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really cool to just even meet new faces. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I still have quite a few people.
And it's so cool to know that after graduation, you can still have meaningful connections with people and meaningful friendships that last past graduation.
Yes.
So I love that. Go PVCC. Okay.
building community.
Yes, building community.
All right, our final question for you, Denisse. What is one piece of advice you would like to leave with future graduates of Paradise Valley Community College?
I think we've talked a little bit about through this entire session. It's been a theme now looking back, is the power of being courageous enough to get involved
Mm-hmm.
in something, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Start somewhere.
But also the power of being curious because
Curious.
getting into different
Yes.
classes too. Yeah.
Oh, totally. So I actually thank you. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of curiosity and getting involved. And even to get involved, right? It takes curiosity. Like, oh, what
Mhm.
is this going to be? What does
Yeah.
it entail? So on one end is get involved if you can, even in the little ways. It will truly begin to start building that community if you don't have one. And if you already have one, it would only grow your community
Yeah.
exponentially to the point that it's going to make your whole entire so much more rich.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to have a hard time leaving campus,
Yeah.
but it's part of growing, right? So
Yeah.
if it wouldn't be hard, then you're probably not growing.
That's
That's
true.
the thing. And so the other part is, to your point, and I thank you for bringing that up, the curiosity. College became truly this incredible playground where, yes, you just came out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, you still have to meet deadlines and things like that. And a professor of mine told me one time, yes, well, you need to take yourself serious, going to
Mhm.
classes and apply yourself. Also, don't take yourself too serious.
Yeah.
Experiment, be curious, try new things.
Mm-hmm.
This is a unique moment in time that you have in your life
Mm-hmm.
to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and embrace them and see maybe where that may lead you, right? And again, you may never know. You may meet, like myself, my friend that now we're super good friends so
Yeah.
many years later. You may meet your future love or your husband or wife, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I would say sometimes it's very easy, and I know a lot of people that are very good about plans and checklists. And I admire that about them. I cannot do plans and checklists. I'm more like, let's go with the flow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I truly believe college is a little bit about like, don't take yourself too serious.
Yeah.
Don't get too upset that something didn't go your way. Find ways to make it work out. Find, and if it became a mistake, what can you learn from it
Yeah.
to take it to the next level? And it really came down, I believe, college to it's not about what you're studying. It's about how much can you think about critical thinking. Work on your critical thinking skills, especially
that
now
is
in the
important.
days with AI,
Yeah.
right? But part of critical thinking comes with experimentation, with this. When you think of creativity, is this whole concept of the flow, right? You have to be in the right mental state to kind of be able to just be able to play, but at the same time come up with like the newest innovation. I'm sure you heard about that. I believe this is the same thing that happens during this unique time in your life in college. And the best part of this time of your life is that you guys are at a college where people care so much that if you make a mistake, they're going to help you
Yes,
go
they
through
will.
it. So again, be curious, try new things, make mistakes. And if you're not making mistakes, you are not growing. If you're thinking that you're getting A's all the time, I can tell you right now, an A is not going to give you really a job nowadays.
Yeah.
An A doesn't necessarily always mean that you're going to be able to survive in the work environment. But if you're able to think in critical ways, if you're somewhat a little bit of a doer, right? Like figure it out, like do the things that nobody else wants to do, and you'll become indispensable. In fact, there's this really good book that I remember I was reading a couple years ago, and it became a huge book for my life. It's called The Linchpin by Seth Godin, and it talks about how to become indispensable. And when I started reading, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've done in my life. I had never read it before until that day. I was like, yeah, this is what I do.
And it connected.
It really connected because, even if you see something on the ground that is dirty and you're able to pick it up and put it in the trash, do it. Part of it is like you're starting to have a sense of ownership of the place that you're in, Don't wait until somebody else comes and tells you, oh, you belong. You have to do your part as well.
Find your belonging.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you so
insight,
much.
Denise.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just don't show the podcast to my advisor.
We
They're
promise
gonna be like,
we
are you still changing subjects? Probably.
Well, thank you, Denise, for giving us the opportunity to interview you. Thank you for giving us so much good insight and your experience and a peek into your life journey, your college journey. We appreciate it. And we hope any listening Pumas find inspiration from our conversation today with Denise. This has been Pause for a Moment with Student Life. My name is Brittnie-Ann.
And I'm Hannah.
And my name is Denise. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for
Thank
coming.
you so much.
See you next time.
See you next time.